Good morning, greetings, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being, and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body, you are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That is why we are here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 32 years of practicing pharmacy, I have seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like acne, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure. Because the human biological system is a healing system. It's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we are here for you on The Bright Side. 844-236-6010 is our number, 844-236-6010. If you have a comment or success story you'd like to share, 844-236-6010. If you want to purchase longevity products, call 866-735-2470 or go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com and click on the Join the Team link as well. If you'd like to sign up to join the Brightside Ben team, you can purchase products off our websites at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can also click on the Join the Team link to start a longevity business for a one-time $25 fee. You can be in business for yourself. You can earn thank you checks for helping people heal themselves. Helping people heal themselves. That's what longevity products are all about, helping the human body do its healing and regenerating work. And you can make some money at the same time. If you're an entrepreneur, it's an ideal business opportunity. Call 866-735-2470 or click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. Okay, welcome back to The Bright Side. We have a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. Kaz Ingram is going to be talking about his latest book. Dr. Ingram writes a lot of books. He's been on the program before. Dr. Ingram his latest work is called The Cannabis Cure. It's about endocannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system and plant cannabinoids. He's got some very interesting and surprising things to say. I love talking to Kaz. He's one of my all-time favorite medical professionals. He's an osteopath, actually, but he doesn't practice ordinary medicine. He's now an author and a speaker, and I love talking to Kaz, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say about cannabis, the cannabis cure. I notice his book is called The Cannabis Cure, not the CBD cure, and not the hemp cure. He's going right into the cannabis, and we're going to have a very interesting conversation at the bottom of the hour. We'll take your calls in our second segment, 844-236-6010. Okay, so I want to continue talking about the minerals. A lot of confusion about the minerals. Just this past weekend, I use fulvic minerals in a lot of my Truth products, the polyelectrolyte minerals, which of course are plant-derived, as you guys know from listening to this program. Plant-derived and microbial derived. And we're going to spend some time here in the next few days, actually maybe for a while, talking about polyelectrolytes and microbes and plants. These are the very essence of life. What distinguishes Earth from the moon, the life force that's on planet Earth and that's not on the moon, is a function of about 10 inches of stuff called soil, where minerals are converted from moon rock to life. From moon rock to electrical minerals. This is where the magic of life begins. And to understand how all of this works, you got to understand a little bit about the minerals. Now, I use these plant-derived minerals in my products, and I got a call, actually email a couple days ago. Some lady said, "Oh, there's nickel in your in your biomimetic mineral mist, and that's terrible. Why do you have nickel in there? And so I had to explain to her that biological nickel is a nutrient. Biological nickel, if it's not a human nutrient, at least it's a plant nutrient. It might even be a human nutrient. Biological minerals are not the same as ordinary minerals. And there's in the world of nutrition, there is nothing more complex, it's not complex, but more misunderstood than how minerals work. And if you're one of those people, if you heard other people say, well, there's arsenic in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and there's nickel in your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you got to explain to them, or you got to explain to yourself, the difference between a biological mineral and a rock mineral. A rock in biology. That's basically the distinction between the kind of nickel you can use and the kind of nickel that everybody thinks about, or arsenic, or mercury, or any other of the minerals on the periodic table. And I don't want to get all nerdy here, but that periodic table, there's a mother load of information on there if you want to understand how minerals work in the body, how everything works in the body, but especially how minerals work. If that periodic table, you find that intimidating, just look at your periodic table and look at the middle of it. The middle of it is really that's the hard part. That's the part everybody gets confused on the periodic table. It's the middle part, because in the middle part, the atoms are really, really unstable. They bounce around a lot. And this is how, this is where a lot of confusion for minerals comes in, because they bounce around. For example, in the middle of the periodic table, you got something like, you've got copper, you've got nickel. Let's just use nickel as an example. Nickel is, by the way, a nickel, the 5-cent piece that we call a nickel, it's not really made, it contains about 25% nickel, the rest of it's copper. And by the way, if you have a nickel allergy, you should be allergic to nickels. All right? So a lot of people think they have nickel allergies. If you're not allergic to a nickel, you're not allergic to nickels, because the nickel in a nickel in a 5-cent piece is about 25% of the stuff that you should be allergic to. Anyway, nickel is in the middle of the periodic table, and in the middle of the periodic table is where all the confusion happens, because the nickel is bouncing around in different forms. Atoms typically don't exist by themselves. They exist in combination with other things. And so when a nickel is bouncing around in different forms, it combines in different ways. If it's in one form and combines in a certain way, it can cause a problem. If it's in another form and it combines in another way, it's good for you. And so just because you see nickel on an ingredient deck doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. And likewise with chromium, and likewise with osmium and silver and gold and platinum, and all of these in a certain way are part of the dirt, are part of the soil. They're part of the nutritional element, the nutritional component that feeds plants. So anyway, atoms don't exist by themselves. They exist with other things. And atoms, I don't want to get all quantum here, but they actually exist in combination sometimes as things and sometimes as waves. Actually, the atom itself is already a bigger thing. We call atoms the smallest thing, but there's things smaller than atoms. And that's really where the power of these atoms comes from, the electricity. We started talking about these minerals because we talked about electricity. Minerals conduct electricity. When they conduct them really well, we call them a metal. A metal conducts electricity the best of all the elements, all the atoms. A metal is a very special kind of mineral. A mineral is just a bunch of different atoms stuck together. Remember, minerals or atoms combine in 3 different ways. There may be more, but there's 3 main ways: salts, acids, and minerals. The minerals are just a bunch of atoms stuck together. When the same atoms stuck together, we call that mineral a metal, and those are super duper important, the metals. Now, not all minerals are going to be metals, but a lot of them do combine together to form what's called a metal, combine together similarly. I call them racist because they stay with their own kind. A metal is like a racist mineral. It's got all the same kind of atoms. Other times, these atoms can complex together inside plants. That's the nutritional ones. Microbes can take these atoms, or minerals actually, which are dead, and they can combine them with biological substances to form nutritional minerals. And these are the ones that Doc Wallach is always talking about, and these are the ones that are so important, the nutritional biological minerals. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll take a break and come back on the bright side right after this. Okay, we're back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Got lines open, 844-236-6010. We'll get your calls this segment. We're talking to Dr. Kaz Ingram about his new book, the Cannabinoid Cure. At the bottom of the hour, Dr. Ingram has been studying the endocannabinoids, not quite as long as I have, but for quite a while. And he is a very prolific writer and presenter and always has something interesting to say. We'll have him on at the bottom of the hour, and we'll get your calls this segment. I have a ton of stuff I wanted to talk about. A lot of news came out about the microbiome and about Alzheimer's disease together and separately this last weekend. They're now, I was just reading how they found a cause, not a cure, but a cause for Alzheimer's disease, and they isolated a specific protein that is associated with Alzheimer's disease. You don't need to know about specific proteins or specific anything when it comes to Alzheimer's disease or anything else, really. I know we dive into the weeds on this program, but if you want to be healthy, it's very, very simple. Out with the bad, in with the good is really what it amounts to. In the case of Alzheimer's disease, you're just dealing with a deterioration of the brain. It's nothing special about Alzheimer's disease or, for that matter, any other health challenge. They all involve deterioration of tissue following inflammation. That's another medical model or healthcare industry scam. Time Magazine's cover story recently, I just saw it. I didn't see Time Magazine, but somebody sent it to me. I don't know if it's out yet, but if it's either out now or was out in the past, cover story on inflammation. That's the latest bad guy, boogeyman. Inflammation is the bad guy. And why are you hearing so much about inflammation as the bad guy, the boogeyman when it comes to health? So you can take anti-inflammatories. Whenever you hear about a medical advance, there's always a drug that's associated with it or some kind of health procedure that's associated with it. This is how medicine works. It promotes itself. It promotes itself as being the best. It promotes itself as being God. It promotes itself as being all you need to take care of your health. It's not true. It's a lie. The whole political thing that you're hearing about now with free drugs for all, free Medicare for all, more lies, more dishonesty. It's not out and out lies, but it's just misleading and it's dishonest. And it says that we can be medicalized to health and we need medicine to be healthy. Baloney. I'm saying this as a pharmacist. It makes me so mad. That's why I stopped doing pharmacies, this idea that people can drug themselves back into health. It cannot be done. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir to a certain extent, but I'm kind of venting. In any case, I was going to talk about some of this stuff here. We'll say this tomorrow, but there's a lot of stuff that came out about the microbiome and mental health issues, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, as well as schizophrenia, and the microbiome. We'll save that one we'll save that topic for tomorrow. I want to get my friend on. I'm calling him my friend. He called last week, and I thought he had some really interesting things to say. Aaron, you there?
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Aaron. Yeah, you really sparked my interest last week, and so I want to chat with you a little bit more about what you were saying. Now, just for the listeners, you came on hang on, let me just ask you a couple things, and I'm sure we're going to run out of time again today, but just let me ask you a couple things real quick. First of all, You talked about the trivium and the quadrivium. I think you say it. Is that? And I did do some research on it after I talked to you. I hadn't heard of that before, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then before we get into some of the stuff that you were talking about involving the electronic side of things, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do? Are you just a researcher? Or you just like to research?
I actually called you about a year or two ago. I had a health issue. My wife had a health issue. I called you. I work at a hospital. However, the more I learn, the more my mind evolves, and the more I'm able to actually test out what I know into the physical world to see what works and what doesn't, and then go from there. I think one of the biggest issues that we all face is the fear of failure, and I think failure is a very important, because, of course, you've mentioned it on your show as well. You know, going to the gym is part of failure.
Yeah, taking your muscles to muscle failure, to going to muscle failure. Yeah, that's how you get stronger.
Right. And so when it comes to life just in general, failure is part of that aspect as well.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, that's an awesome introduction. So continue on with your thoughts about you said something else aside from the quadrivium and the trivium, which are ways of learning. Let me see if I recall the trivium here. It was rhetoric, grammar, and critical thinking. Was that the last one?
Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, the people who actually manipulate us invert the trivium. The trivium has a specific order that has to go through, and that is grammar or knowledge, logic or understanding, and rhetoric and wisdom. So we have to constantly learn on a daily basis, basically, to upgrade our logic so that we're able to be ethical and have free will. Because what I've actually learned, or what I feel I've realized, is free will is based on having ethics. Because unless you actually have the logic and understanding of things, you really don't have the capacity to have free will.
That's why it's underneath the that's why the trivium is like a foundation to the higher. Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. Now, what
was interesting is I typed in pharmacy because I wanted to know a little bit about pharmacy, and they actually used. I don't have the screenshot in front of me, but it mentions the art and science.
The art and science of pharmacy. Say that again. The art and science of pharmacy.
Right. Pharmacy is working both with the mother and the father. And what's interesting about what you said, and that really resonates with me, in the past you've actually mentioned the matrix, the cellular matrix. Mm-hmm. The cellular matrix, what you've stated is the matrix means mother.
Mm-hmm. And that's very good.
And of course...
It also means womb. By the way, it also means womb, and in the body, and in the body, the cells derive from the womb of the matrix. We always talk about the cells.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? We always talk. Check this out. You're going to love this.
Very fascinating.
Yeah, listen to this. The cells, we always talk about how important the cells are, but it's not just the cells. The matrix feeds the cells, the matrix oxygenates the cells, and the matrix detoxifies the cells. And that's the triad of cell disease comes from the matrix. So the matrix, but here's, it gets even cooler. That's cool right there. But check this out.
Yeah.
The cells make the matrix. It's a circle. Isn't that cool? The cells.
Yeah. It's
the cells make the mother, which feeds the cells, which make more mother. And when we break down at the matrix level, but it's because the cells aren't making the matrix. The cells are defective. And so aging is about the matrix, but it starts at the cell. Medicine works at the level of the matrix. But by then, the cow has already left the barn. The matrix is, see what I'm saying? That's why medicine fails us. It's working at the end result.
And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I don't have a lot of time, I guess. Because you've also mentioned cell membranes. Yes. And you've mentioned information being structured chaos. Okay?
Yes.
Because I believe you said that.
Oh, Aaron, you're getting it, buddy.
Memory's wrong.
Yeah. Information and chaos are opposites.
Right. And this information is the narrative that we give ourselves. And so by working with the narrative in the womb, and I hear that.
Okay, but the narrative, now you've introduced a whole nother component in there.
So I have to call back in, right?
You got to call back. I'm sorry, buddy. We don't get a lot of time.
Okay, I'll call back.
Send me an email, will you? Send an email to ben@ksco.com. ben@ksco.com. And that's it. I'm sorry if I left you on hold here, you guys.
I understand. No problem.
Okay, take care, man. We got Kaz Ingram coming up. All right, we're back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. I'm very excited to have our next guest on, Dr. Kaz Ingram. I've known of Dr. Ingram for decades, and I've been running into him and talking on the radio now for a couple of years. Run into Dr. Ingram every year in Canada when I do that Total Health shows and the Whole Life Expos. Dr. Ingram is a prolific writer and presenter and visionary and one of the good guys when it comes to health. He's always got something fun and interesting to say, always got something helpful to say as well. His latest book is called The Cannabis Cure. Please welcome to the bright side, Dr. Kaz Ingram. Greetings, Kaz.
Hey, good afternoon and good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's always fun to talk to you. And I want to dive into this cannabis thing. I love how you named it cannabis. So many people are pussyfooting around it. They're calling it hemp oil and CBD, but really, when it comes right down to it, they're endocannabinoids, and it's about cannabis. And we call a spade, and we got to get over our craziness about the taboo.
Well, the species is Cannabis sativa or Cannabis indica, and so. If Linnaeus could be strung up and put in prison, I guess, on that, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Nice.
Yeah, and of course the resin, the cannabis resin, was harvested for many thousands of years, used topically, burned, more or less burned to be inhaled as an incense.
Is that hashish?
On rocks.
Is that hashish you're talking about?
Yeah, the hashish, and even the actual flower. And then they would get a distant dose that would cause a euphoria or some sort of an improvement in mood. Then they also chewed on the resin, the hashish, or other resins, whatever but it would always be a hashish-like resin. And they would take a little bit and chew on it. They would chew and eat the cannabis leaves and so forth. And there was an old Arabic proverb from about 11th century that says, if you want to take somebody that's just downright stupid and turn them into a bit of an intellectual and make them clever, have them chew on a little bit here and there.
It's like the opposite of what we're told. It's the opposite of what we hear.
Because it's just that little teeny bit that you get is enough to activate the endocannabinoid system, cause the induction of some receptor formation, and therefore, like you said, it helps synthesize an orchestra of performance in the neurons and in the white blood cells and the bone marrow and the heart and some of the other organs. Sort of a balancing act that the cannabinoids, they do that for us.
Okay, in a nutshell, Kaz, tell us about the endocannabinoid system. We studied it many, many years ago in pharmacy school, and I remember being, as a young kid who had heard all about the horrors of marijuana, being just blown away by the fact that we make our own endocannabinoids. We talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system?
Well, you have your opiate receptor system, and then you have your endorphins, and that's very well established. And, of course, weed seems to activate opiate, obviously morphine and so forth, and chocolate seems to be our thing for the endorphins. Alcohol can activate then depress opiate. Now, the endocannabinoid system is quite a bit different, and because you're looking at not just the brain and the brainstem, you're looking at the bone marrow, the bone mass, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the bronchial tree, your white blood cells. There are endocannabinoid systems scattered throughout the organs.
Is that the panacea? Is that why it has like a panacea effect? It's good for everything?
Yeah, it's pretty much that way because, if you take a look at marijuana even and you see that it has published data on plantar fasciitis, fibromyalgia, insomnia, initially sometimes anxiety,
seizure disorders, don't forget that.
Mood disorders, and also
appetite also. Don't
definitely because don't forget, the endocannabinoids in the gut.
Right.
So it looks like God made cannabis for the endocannabinoid system to some degree.
And in Chinese medicine, it's like the most ancient herb and most ancient medicinal herb is Chinese.
It goes back. The only thing we have is 10,000 BC where they were actually farming hemp, or whether it was marijuana or industrial, I don't know. They were farming it, and they were putting the stone diagrams in Neolithic times.
Isn't that crazy?
Neolithic
as in caveman.
That's right. And so now this become a federal issue and a legal issue and a draconian thing. So what we know for certain, and this is categorical, is that we need a certain amount. Our body is making the 2 or 3 cannabinoids. They're making it from arachidonic acid, the cells.
Right, a fatty acid, omega-6 derived fatty acid, right?
Right, and that omega-6 is found quite a lot in animal flesh, too, not just vegetation.
Right. That's true.
So therefore, how nice and sedated you get from a great grass-fed steak or something.
Yeah, there's more omega-6 than omega-3, actually.
That's right, in the diet. Now this system is receiving cannabinoids not just from cannabis, but from everything that we love.
Carrots?
We love some cinnamon. Would you ever have cappuccino without the cinnamon? Are you kind of nuts?
The cinnamon is a great source of cannabinoids.
Fantastic source.
Yeah, that's right.
And then clove and cinnamon and bakery, you're not going to bake a pie without it. How about
hops? How about beer?
Without oregano.
What's that? Oh, wild oregano.
Oregano's rich.
Yeah.
Very rich.
Yeah. And hops. Hops.
Hops are very rich. Certainly rosemary, certainly sage, certainly chamomile.
Medicinal herbs. What we call medicinal herbs.
They're all medicinal. Cannabis is medicinal. It was in the Bible.
Yeah,
Old
that's
Testament.
Great. Is it?
They call it anointing. They weren't just anointing. They were putting it on, because it was therapeutic.
Were they getting stoned?
Not really. There's not much evidence of that. It was more or less in India where the stoning was occurring than to Mongolia, where they just overdid it. They putting huge amounts of this in milk and taking beverage after beverage or eating large amounts, or then they started smoking it in the 1200s, and the Mongols were smoking it.
How about breast milk, by the way? Breast milk is a great source of endocannabinoids.
It is true, because you need them for the developing fetus. So there wasn't a lot of stoning over the centuries. That's more recent phenomenon where you just overkill, and you raise the marijuana to be so high in THC it becomes artificial. Instead of being 1 or 2%, it's 8%. That's just too much. You can even overload the endocannabinoid system with hemp oil if you get the kind with high amounts of CBD.
Is that right? Can you overload the CBD system by taking it too much or too often?
Yes. It's called the bell curve phenomenon. The Israeli investigators Galilei and Haynes proved this categorically in their landmark study, where they found that if you take a crude extract, it does not overload the receptors. The receptors stay intact. You keep getting anti-pain and anxiolytic benefits, anti-anxiety, anti-stress, anti-pain. But when you fortify the CBD, when you add in too much cannabinoid artificially, this receptors shut off, the pain benefits shut off, and then from a consumer point of view, you end up going and getting higher and higher doses, paying bigger money.
Should you take days off, Cass? Should you take days off from CBD if you're using it?
You should if you're going to be taking those high dose ones. But if you're taking the crude extract, like they did in the ancient times, where they made their hashish, or they took a little nip, or they took and chewed on it. But in this case, we can't do that. In this case, industrial hemp. If you get the crude extract, you do not get the shut off. You actually cut back on the dose and get the benefit still.
All right, Kaz, that's a really important. Kaz, that's a super important point, but we got to take a commercial break. Hold that thought about the crude extract, and we'll finish up when we come back. Thanks, Kaz. We're talking to Dr. Kaz Ingram, author of The Cannabis Cure. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. Okay, we are talking to Dr. Kaz Ingram on the bright side about his book, The Cannabis Cure. CBD. Move over THC and CBD. Say hello to BCP is the subtitle. And I imagine, Kaz, you're talking about what you were talking about at the end of our last segment, which is the full spectrum. I call it full spectrum. Is that what you were referring to?
Full spectrum, whole food, crude extract, supercritical. You see, supercritical extract of any spice in the cannabinoid region is going to contain not only the cannabinoids you find in cannabis, but when you get into the spices, you get the terpene cannabinoids. First of all, cannabis has, or hemp oil has, cannabinoids and terpenes. All of them are terpenes. All cannabinoids are. But you get these other terpenes like BCP, beta-caryophyllene.
Entourage ones.
Entourage, limonene, pinene. Beta-caryophyllene is also the smell of cannabis. And it's the smell of a carnation, cinnamon, as well as hops, rosemary, oregano, cloves. They all have beta-caryophyllene as an odor.
Is that a medicinal? Is that an active ingredient, beta-caryophyllene?
It's the most active ingredient in cannabis, in cinnamon, in oregano, in terms of neuroregeneration.
And what you're talking about is derived from all the different spices. Your product is derived from all the different spices. Is that correct?
Well, there is a product called hempenol, and hempenol contains the normal hemp oil, hemp cannabis oil, but also wild oregano resin. And wild oregano resin is very high in BCP.
Beta-carophylline? Are you saying BCP is beta-carophylline?
Yeah. So when you combine them, you get the synergy. Now, there's also hempenol PM, where you take two products from the same species. So you have hops, which is a cannabinoid, is a cannabis species. Then you have cannabis. Then you have chamomile, oregano, cinnamon, all in one, and that'll knock you into REM sleep.
Hang on, let me understand this, Kaz. You're saying that you that off your website or from you can get hempenol or hempenol PM, you said?
Right.
And that's the sleep one with hops, cannabis, chamomile.
You've got certified organic hemp oil, cannabis oil.
Okay.
You have these other spices which are also extracted by supercritical extraction.
Do you have the whole spice? What exactly do you have when you say supercritical extraction? What are you extracting?
Well, supercritical is where you take carbon under pressure.
Is this a CO2? Is this your CO2 extraction you're talking about?
CO2.
Okay. You CO2 extract all these various herbs? Is that what you're saying?
That's what you're doing.
And
you're getting a high density of BCP, and that's the cannabidiol, known as CBD.
Yeah.
That is not so neuroregenerative.
Uh-huh.
It's good. And I know it's an illegal word almost now, so we'll stick with what we have, hemp oil, cannabis oil extract, whatever. But BCP is not illegal. I mean, none of it should be illegal.
None of it should be illegal.
It's in food. It's in pizza sauce. It's in whatever, rosemary
cinnamon,
tea,
rosemary,
tea, right?
Yeah,
It's in cinnamon toast. Okay, so BCP is not a novel food. It's an old food.
Is this is your critical extract a high BCP extract?
High BCP.
What percentage are we talking? What percentage?
3% terpenes total, about 2% BCP, which is huge.
Okay, got it.
Now, the studies show that there's only one substance that extends lifespan in the C. elegans mice model.
Yeah.
And it's BCP.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're missing the boat. There's another study that said BCP is a dietary cannabinoid. See, now we'll get around the federal issue.
Like a supplement. Like a supplement?
It's a supplement, and it's a food.
That's awesome.
How are you going to ban cinnamon toast?
Yeah, right.
So,
Hank, Kaz, you're saying so many wonderful things. I want to digest these. So this hempenol PM with the hops, the cannabis, the chamomile, the oregano, the cinnamon, it's available as a resin. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It's available as a capsules or drops under the tongue.
Got it. But you're CO2 extracting it, you get a resin out of all these.
You get a resin, and then you mix the resin and the olive oil, what have you, and you end up with drops under the tongue, or you end up with a gel cap.
Got it. Now,
and I tell you what, how do you think I wrote 30 books, all this insomnia?
Okay, got it.
So I knocked myself into REM sleep so I can do my writing in the morning like a normal person.
Okay, so hang on. So the hops, you take, and I want to understand the process. But when you're processing it, when you're making it, you take the hops, you do a CO2 extract. You take the cannabis, you do a CO2 extract. Chamomile, oregano, cinnamon, you CO2 extract each one. Then you blend them together, and then you create this product with the olive oil, whatever kind of oil you're using. Is that right?
That is exactly right. And then you have a very potent certified organic. Most of that material happens to be. But the most important thing is we can't sleep, we can't rest, we can't recover, and we got to shove ourselves into REM sleep. So if I'm laying there, agitating, whatever, I take the capsules. Some people prefer the drops. I take 4 or 5 capsules and bang, I shove myself over.
Is there CBD in there too?
No, well, trace CBD. Trace. But that's important for people who are cops or nurses. Anything like this, they have to be cautious or careful. They'd have to tell whoever that they're taking something for medical reasons that could have a teeny micromolecule of THC that could throw the thing into a false positive if they have a urine test.
No, but CBD, I'm thinking. Is there any CBD in there?
Oh, yeah, there is naturally occurring. Occurring in all hemp, but not artificially raised.
Got it. So what are we talking?
Expensive, crazy stuff. Just
like 0.1%, 0.2% kind of thing?
No, there's 15% total in the resin. So if you have 3,000 milligrams in a hempenol product, for example, that's 450 milligrams in the total bottle of
CBD?
Of cannabinoids. And we should be calling them not CBD, but we should be calling them cannabinoids.
You don't want to isolate
There are 8 of them. There are 80 different ones, but 8 big ones. 6 to 8, they're cannabinoids.
Mm-hmm. That's the full spectrum when they talk about full spectrum.
I'm even taking another level. Full spectrum could be still treated with acetone and hexane and alcohol and heat.
You're talking the crude resin.
I'm talking raw crude extract. Make sure that they certify to you that it's raw and not heat treated, because the enzymes are very important to activate the endocannabinoid system. As soon as you apply heat to cannabis, you obliterate the enzymes.
I see.
And
So you don't want to ever heat.
Little effect. Case history. The science shows that CBD only works in 10 to 20% of seizures. This hempenol took out the kid's trouble in 3 days. A 7-year-old that had seizures since he was basically born took it out 72 hours. Crude extract, no bell curve, no suppression, benefits. You take less with time, except maybe if you're an insomniac, then you probably still have to take every night to get, or at least every other night. Does solvency
destroy the enzymes too?
Yes, solvents obliterate all the enzymes, not a trace of them left. So if you're thinking that butane gas is a good idea, or alcohol soaks with hemp, or somebody's trying to push you to think that it's good to decarboxylate, the data shows that decarboxylation causes the bell curve, that solvent extraction and heat causes the bell curve, and that adding in extra CBD is never a good idea. You don't need much. God knows, you're never going to put 10 teaspoons of cinnamon in your coffee or your hot milk. You'd be crazy.
All right, so we're going to run out of time here. I'm sure people are going to be interested in this. So both of these are available: the hempenol and the hempenol and the hempenol PM on your website.
Right. Harass your local health food store, like down in Sedalia, those Good Post Healthy Habits and such out. Different health food stores, Healthy Habits. What is the other one?
Vitamin Cottage. Vitamin Cottage.
Yeah, Vitamin Cottage. They don't carry that. They're still on the conservative.
Okay. But
harass your local health food store and go to AmericanWildFoods.com if you want to see it. I'm not telling anybody to buy anything. Look, we're just doing an informational show. Right. www.AmericanWildFoods.com. You can see everything I'm talking about.
Not just cannabis, but also the oregano, the wild.
So much. It's going to be cost effective for people because it's going to work within a week. Look at my creativity went up 1,000-fold since I started taking this stuff. And you will see the benefits in your overall health. Stress, anxiety, neurosis, but also
the book too.
Pain. And oregano is very more powerful than cannabis for pain, 50 times more. It works on the opiates.
Oh my goodness! But hey, we're out of time. I got to have you back, Kaz. Don't be a stranger, man. We got to.
Where
get
you been
back
all my life? See you around.
Hey, wait a minute. The Cannabis Cure. The book's also available. Are you there, Kaz? Kaz doesn't mess around, man. All right, his book is The Cannabis Cure, and his book is The Cannabis Cure, and his products are Hempenol PM and Hempenol, and I forgot the name of the website. Well, Kaz just hung up on us there. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have yourselves a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later, folks. Bye for now.